The last time I talked about a breakfast food on this program, it was pancakes, and there was a giant spatula-wielding robot, a 12-inch pat of butter, gallons of maple syrup, and more than a few burnt fingers. This time around, I'm back with another breakfast heavy hitter, French toast. And it's just me, and my cat Miamo, and some blue food coloring. Fewer robots, but no less weird. Good girl. Like the inventive percussion-based stage show Stomp, French toast is an international sensation. That is to say, you can find the tradition of soaking leftover bread in liquid, whether it's wine, milk, or juices, and frying it in countless countries across the world. From France to England to Germany to India and more. The practice of Frenching toast may date back to the 5th century. We are gonna stick with the name French toast today. But if to you it is German toast, Bombay toast, Poor Knights of Windsor, or Wicked Wet toast as we say here in Boston, please just dub that over every time I say it. While I may have started out quite humbly, there's no denying that in this country, French toast has gotten pretty darn decadent. The richest versions take the richest breads, say challah or brioche, and dip them in the richest custards. I like those versions. But Frenchy tea can also be a little bit more of a restrained affair and something you could have for an everyday breakfast. I like those versions too. We're gonna talk about both today, but first, we start with custard. Custard, which is such a great word. Custard. Sorry, custard. I love custards of all kinds, whether it's pastry cream, creme anglaise, or flan. At its core, a custard is egg-thickened dairy. Most French toast, even if it's going off the richness rails, opts for milk for the liquid dairy component. When it comes to eggs though, there's a big choice. Whole eggs or just yolks? Now we spent a lot of time on this program talking about egg yolks and egg whites. There's even a whole episode devoted to each, which you should watch if you haven't yet. But while they are super different in terms of their protein content, fat content, water content, and overall functionality, they both have the ability to gel and thicken a liquid. You see this power every time you fry an egg and you watch the raw liquid turn to a solid in the skillet. If you use just yolks in your French toast, you will end up with a richer custard because you're adding less water and a lot more fat. Whole eggs offer the benefit of not having to separate eggs before you've had coffee, which is nice. And they will make an eggier tasting French toast, which I really like. That's because the sulfurous compounds that are responsible for that eggy flavor are found primarily in the white. There are of course loads of other add-in options for the custard for your French toast. They can be sugar, spices, citrus zest, and melted butter to name a few. Okay, so now we've got custard out of the way, let's get to the bread. Now when I was growing up, there was only one kind of bread, and it was called white sandwich bread. Sometimes it was a little bit brown, but it was basically still white sandwich bread. And here's the thing, white sandwich bread makes a wonderful French toast. In fact, I'm gonna make some for you with that in just a moment. But there are so many good options for French toast bread. Buttery brioche makes a supremely rich toast. Challah, slightly less rich in the butter department, but usually richer in the egg department, is a natural pairing. We're trying to get eggs into the bread, so why not start with more eggs in there to begin with? Shokupan, Japanese milk bread, is wonderful for French toast. At Japanese Bakery here in Boston, I can get it sliced extra thick, and its pillowy crumb has tons of structure for holding onto lots of custard. We of course have amazing recipes for all of these, and I've got links to those below this video. Did I mention down there that there's also a subscribe button and a like button? They're so fun to click. You should try it. A lot of French toast recipes call for stale bread, and there's still a ton of confusion out there about what stale bread actually is. While stale bread can feel really dry, unless it's been sitting out for a really long time, chances are it's still got all its water, you just can't feel it. As bread stales, a process called retrogradation, starch molecules that got nice and flexible during baking reform into crystals, trapping water inside. When the water is trapped, the bread feels dry. But heat that slice of bread up past about 140 degrees Fahrenheit and the water is released and the bread feels moist again. Why does this matter at all? Well, if you want dry bread so that it can soak up as much custard as possible, which if you want that, more power to you, you don't want stale bread. You want bread that has actually been dried out. Baking slices of bread on a wire rack in a 300-degree oven for about 20 minutes will get the job done. We've got custard, we've got bread. Let's put this all together. And for that, we gotta go to the kitchen. Okay, first up, we're gonna go fancy. I'm gonna use this lovely challah that I already dried in the oven based on that method I just mentioned. For the custard, we're gonna go nice and rich with whole milk, 3 yolks, and a couple tablespoons of melted butter. And we're actually gonna go a little wild here. Cinnamon, triple sec, orange zest, and of course, vanilla and salt. We'll dunk our dried out slices in this custard, top them with a mixture of ground almonds and brown sugar, and pan fry them in butter until they are golden brown. Geez, that looks good. I am going to eat that, all of that. But before I do so, I wanna show you another recipe that I might like even more. This genius recipe comes from Cook's Illustrated senior editor Lon Lamb. It's called Everyday French Toast because guess what? You're gonna wanna eat it every day, and it is simple and mess-free enough that you might actually do that. First up, we've got our custard. We're going for whole eggs for ease of use and that lovely eggy flavor. We've got some melted butter, and in the flavor department, we're going purist. Just brown sugar, cinnamon, vanilla, and salt. Here's where things take a dramatic turn. We're gonna pour this custard directly onto a sprayed baking sheet. Now time for the bread. Classic white sandwich bread. I lay down all of the slices into the custard, and as soon as I put the last one down, I go back to the beginning and I flip them over in the same order that I put them down. And look, all the custard is perfectly absorbed. This method takes all the guesswork out of how long to dunk and how much custard gets into each slice. How did Lon figure out exactly how much custard to use? With blue food coloring, of course. Check out this experiment. We'll repeat exactly what I just did, but this time the custard is dyed blue. We lay them down, flip them over, and the custard is gone. Magic. Now, let's slice one of these pieces of bread in half and see how far the custard has traveled. Boom, this is exactly what we were looking for. That sliver of unsoaked bread is what Lon calls the bone of the French toast. And like all bones, it provides structure to everything that's touching it. This slice will be easier to flip without tearing, and it will bake up custardy and rich, but not soggy. But believe it or not, this soaking method is only the second coolest part of this recipe. What's the coolest? This sheet pan goes straight into the oven. Get out of here, skillet. We'll bake on the lower rack at 425 degrees until the bottoms turn golden, and then we'll broil the tops. And there you go. No skillet, no batch cooking, no messy transfers, just one glorious stack of French toast. You can share this if you want to. Whether you go Richie Rich or Geniusy Genius, this is absolutely how to eat French toast. Thanks for watching. Do you have a favorite bread for French toast? Are you whole eggs or yolks? Have you seen Stomp, the international sensation? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to dip below this video and get access to both of those toasty recipes. We'll see you next time.